The last decade or so has seen many big changes in England's schools, but none are bigger or perhaps more long-lasting than the extraordinary explosion in the numbers of support staff, particularly classroom assistants, who alone now number more than 250,000.
Right, okay, we'll get started.
It's not just the numbers that have grown, there's been considerable change in their roles too. In this programme we'll be looking at some of the issues facing teaching assistants. In particular, cover, pay and career progression. In January 2008, the DCSF and the Local Government Association conducted a head count of all support staff in England's schools. The categories they identified included teaching assistants, special needs support, bilingual pupil support, admin teams, specialist and technical support, and those helping with pupil welfare. Taken all together, these numbers added up to 465,000 people. That's almost as many as the number of teachers in all of England's schools. Mandy Skillen has worked at Woodlands Primary School in Birkenhead for 25 years in various support roles. She's an award-winning teaching assistant who runs the school's nurture group for children with social and emotional difficulties. Now her career is taking another direction.
I feel very excited today because I've got a new granddaughter. When I first started as a support assistant, it was obviously just supporting the child with the work in the classroom. I can see over the years how the supporting of not just that child that you're working with, but the other children in the school, how you become to support them more emotionally and to encourage their social skills. You're obviously becoming more involved in all of the children, and through that gives you that extra sort of support for the parent as well, for the whole of the family. Why are you happy, Granny?
Because my mum is going to have a baby soon.
Have a look at these people on here and how they're feeling. Now today we've nearly all said that we were happy today. That's fantastic. Obviously the children that come into Rainbow Room, I do meet with their parents on a regular basis. We discuss first why their child's going to come into here. So then we sort of build up a bit of a relationship between myself and the parents. I do have lots of contact with social services, as I do with other agencies. So I think to have somebody as the in-between person in our school, that works really well, because I know I'm that in-between person, and they will come and confide in me and discuss issues with me and quite freely ask for support, where I think if that was a social worker they would find that a bit difficult.
There's this new qualification now for the higher level teaching assistant. Is that a good thing that it's there, and is it something that would be interesting to you?
Parents that brought their children to school at the same time as me, who've gone on to be TAs, have gone on to be HLTAs, so I do think it really is a good idea. It doesn't really interest me. I mean, I'm quite happy with the role I've got, and I am at the moment doing some training for a new course. It's a PSA, Parent Support Assistant, so I'm doing that at the moment because that fits in with the job that I do. What's he doing to that one? If he's going to pull that, what will he do to that one? Push. Push, well done. Yep. I feel now that TAs are pretty much on an equal with the teaching staff. It's not like the TAs and the teachers separate. Everybody's role is important and everybody's input is important.
So Ofsted have said that you can't tell the difference between who's a teacher and who's a support staff, and we're proud of that.
Should there be entry qualifications for people going for teaching assistants jobs?
We had entry qualifications, we wouldn't have the support that we have, particularly with our younger children, with our bilingual children, our children who come in speaking only Bengali. They wouldn't have that support because these are mums from the community. So it sets them going once they start coming in to help the children, then when we can get them on to qualifications and take them further.
We've just seen Mandy working on her own with her group, no teacher in the room.
No,
she's got a good.
it.
I mean, you would almost think if you're an outsider, this is a teacher. Is that? Should we have this distinction still between a classroom assistant and a teacher? Except, of course, they aren't paid anything.
Exactly.
Like as much.
That's the argument, because as for skills and knowledge and understanding, Mandy is exactly the same as any of the members of staff. She knows exactly where those children are, where they need to go, how she can help them, how she can alter the curriculum to meet their needs, all of those things that you would expect from a teacher. The difference is that the salary she's paid is a fraction of what it should be.
That's the one issue that really worries us because the remodelling agenda has been of benefit, has been quite a mini revolution for support staff, particular teaching assistants. What hasn't kept up with this is the whole question of pay. Staff are not really paid at the level that we feel that reflects their work and their responsibility.
The widening gap for teaching assistants' pay remains a concern. School support staff are usually paid on local government pay scales. There's no national pay rate. Recent research put the average TA salary at just over £15,000, but that varies with hours and term time only working. The new school support staff negotiating body is expected to agree a pay and conditions framework to come into effect in 2010.
There's never been a problem to pay the teachers' pay deal because it's been statutory. And because pay for support staff has not been statutory, schools were able to cut money. And so that's why the school negotiating body will have a statutory underpinning in the same way, so that a pay rate will have to be paid in order to stop undermining the or using the goodwill of support staff.
You know, it is hard work, and emotionally as well. It really is hard. It is very rewarding, but I'm sure we'd all agree to more pay.
I don't think what I'm expected to do is to the same level as a teacher. It's definitely not as much planning, preparation, marking and things like that. So therefore I'm quite happy with the level that is at. But I do think you've got to have other reasons to want to do it. You've got to want to take on those extra responsibilities and be keen to develop your own role yourself. I think that would be the main incentive for doing it.
With new roles such as higher level teaching assistant and parent support assistant, it seems career opportunities are opening up.
Many support staff look for career development in schools, and there are increasingly opportunities available to develop your career either as a member of the support staff or as becoming a qualified teacher yourself. Staff going on to high-level teaching assistant status will know that they have increased responsibility. They're able to work with whole classes as well as individuals and small groups, and they develop expertise in a particular subject area or working with children of a particular age phase. Cover supervisors are normally employed in secondary schools to provide short-term cover in the absence of the regular class teacher. They issue work that has been set by the class teacher and make sure that pupils stay focused and on track and manage the behaviour in the class. Others may decide to progress their career into teaching, and they will need to achieve a degree in order to do that, but there are increasingly routes available, work-based routes towards achieving qualified teacher status.
Make sure you two at a table facing the whiteboard for me, okay? So, Katie,
There are now more than 15,500 higher level teaching assistants in England schools. They provide specialist support to pupils and small groups, and in secondary schools they're often attached to a particular subject.
think about your chances of getting higher or lower.
That's how they do it here at Prenton High School for Girls in Birkenhead.
So what we're seeing here is Paula Davies, a higher level teaching assistant who specialises in maths, helping out in this lesson.
Using those prompts, I don't want to say anything else apart from that, try and spot as many mistakes that you think they've made in that data and mark it. Okay, get cracking, a couple of minutes.
You were laughing at both boy and girl.
I see now.
We saw at the start of the lesson you were actually beginning on your own before the class teacher was here. Is that a normal thing for you to do as an HLTA?
As and when, really, it just depends on how the plan of the lesson goes and what particular thing we're trying to cover in that lesson and how that fits in. So it can change from day to day, week to week.
Is it more satisfying being a specialist?
It's different. It's very satisfying being in SEN as well, because there's obviously lots of different aspects to that you can work with, but it's definitely given me more scope to develop my role in other ways. Things like I've done a parent workshop, a numeracy parent workshop that I wouldn't have done I was just still in SEN.
Will you be involved in planning the lessons, or is that something that's already been decided and you'll just come along and find out what's expected of you?
Obviously time-wise that can have a huge factor. That's a huge factor related to lesson planning things. Obviously I will discuss with people as much as possible, but in general the teacher would plan their lesson and maybe ask my opinion on things. I do have a little group that I do myself, so obviously I then plan and prepare everything for that particular group as well, a Year 8 group.
And from the learner's point of view, what's the advantage of having an extra adult, a specialist in the classroom? How do they gain from it?
I think obviously they gain hugely from having TAs in any of their lessons at any level really, but with having it, now that I'm a maths specialist, I can go through from the lower groups right through to the higher groups, and I think that's been a big difference.
There's 3 A3 sheets, but if you turn one of them over, one of them is...
Now that there are many more skilled teaching assistants and HLTAs in schools, could they be required to step in to cover? From September 2009, new rules mean teachers should rarely cover for absent colleagues.
There are 23,000 schools out there, and everybody will want to make their own arrangements. And that's why we've been very keen to get guidance out, very clear guidance, how we see these arrangements operate. And the guidance very clearly says that cover for short periods can be done by teaching assistants who are working at a level 3 if you assume a 4-level career structure. So they have to be experienced, they have to have certain training, certainly in behaviour management, and they need to agree to that role.
Do you use your teaching assistants for cover for teachers at all?
We don't use them for cover, no. We have separate cover supervisors who have a specific role for covering absences. We do use our HLTAs, however, to take whole classes on occasions. They are part of our timetabling staff workforce, so they work alongside teachers as their equals in some instances.
We use our HLTAs for any cover because the children know them, so they're not going to start playing them up. The HLTAs are extremely skilled. They know the children, they know where to take them, they plan. In fact, one of them is taking responsibility for teaching French. That's what she does throughout the school. That's her PPA when she's in, she does French. So it works well.
It doesn't replace the teacher. I know we have some of them taking classes, but we target that specifically. So they might be a very gifted class or a very needy class with specific learning needs, and we wouldn't just timetable them in any old lesson for any old subject.
Many years ago, one education secretary talked about recruiting a mum's army of helpers in schools. That went down like a lead balloon, but since then there's been an explosion in the numbers of classroom assistants, and they've been put on a much more professional footing. But some say there's still a need for issues like pay and conditions to catch up with those changes.